the quiet unfolding of life, there exists a rhythm that cannot be forced and cannot be hurried. This rhythm is not a ticking of the clock or the calendar dates we obsess over, but something deeper, more profound, something woven into the very fabric of existence. It is what many call divine timing. To understand divine timing is to recognize that there are seasons for everything, seasons for growth, seasons for rest, seasons for waiting, and seasons for action. Yet the mind, restless and impatient, struggles with this truth. It wants everything now. It wants to control outcomes, dictate the pace, and manipulate circumstances. But life has its own intelligence, an intelligence that unfolds events in a sequence we cannot always understand until much later. When we are caught in the grip of impatience, we feel as though nothing is moving. We question whether our efforts matter, whether the universe has forgotten us, or whether we are simply not worthy of the things we desire. In those moments, frustration builds and anxiety clouds our vision. Yet divine timing teaches that what seems like stagnation is often preparation. A seed beneath the soil appears lifeless, yet in silence and darkness. It is gathering strength, forming roots, and creating the foundation that will one day allow it to rise. In the same way, the delays we experience are not always denials. They are pauses that allow alignment, pauses that prepare us for what is coming, so that when the moment arrives, we are ready to hold it with both strength and wisdom. The challenge is trust. Trusting divine timing means loosening the grip of control, loosening the endless grasping for certainty, and learning to dwell in the space between action and result. It means accepting that we cannot measure the worth of our efforts solely by immediate outcomes. Much of what we do, much of what we give, much of what we endure may not bear fruit instantly. But this does not mean it is wasted. In fact, the invisible processes of life often take the longest. Just as water carves valleys over centuries and mountains shift across millennia, the changes within us also take time. Growth is often imperceptible until suddenly we realize we have transformed. To live in alignment with divine timing is to observe nature. No flower forces itself to bloom before its season. No tree hurries to drop its leaves before autumn arrives. Everything follows a cycle, and that cycle is precise. If we attempt to rush it, if we pluck the fruit too early, we find it unripe, bitter and unsatisfying. But if we allow it to ripen in its natural time, it nourishes us fully. Similarly, the experiences, opportunities, and relationships meant for us ripen in their season. When forced, they fail. When allowed to unfold, they flourish. Patience, then, is not passive. It is not sitting idly, waiting for life to hand us what we want. Patience is active trust. It is continuing to do the work, continuing to grow, continuing to refine ourselves, even when results are not immediately visible. It is faith expressed through persistence. The farmer still tills the soil, waters the ground, and protects the seed from harm. Even though he cannot see what is happening beneath the earth, he does not abandon the field simply because nothing is sprouting today. He knows that his effort and nature's timing must work together. The same is true for us. Divine timing also reveals itself in the way life redirects us. Often, what we think we want at one stage turns out not to be aligned with our deeper purpose. Doors close, opportunities vanish, and people leave. At first, we resist and fight, believing we have been robbed. But in time, we come to see that these apparent losses were necessary detours. They saved us from walking down paths that were never meant for us. They created space for something greater, something we could not have envisioned before. In hindsight, we often realize that the timing of those events was perfect. Even though in the moment it felt unbearable, the human mind craves certainty and control, yet divine timing operates outside of both. It cannot be predicted or manipulated. It asks for surrender. Not surrender in the sense of giving up, but surrender in the sense of trust, of aligning ourselves with the flow of life rather than fighting against it. This surrender is not weakness, it is strength. It is the strength to release fear, the strength to live with uncertainty, the strength to believe that the unfolding of events carries wisdom beyond our comprehension. When we step into the flow of divine timing, life begins to feel lighter. We stop measuring ourselves against arbitrary timelines. We stop comparing our journey to others. We begin to understand that our path is uniquely designed and therefore cannot be rushed or delayed by human standards. What is meant for us cannot miss us, and what misses us was never meant for us. This awareness brings a kind of peace, a release from the constant tension of trying to control outcomes. Every challenge, every delay, every twist in the path is part of this larger design. Sometimes the waiting itself is the transformation. Sometimes the silence is what refines our character. Sometimes the slow unfolding is what teaches us endurance, humility, and depth. These are qualities we would never develop if everything came instantly. Divine timing is not only about receiving what we desire, but about becoming who we need to be to receive it fully. Inner strength is not built overnight, nor is it something that can be handed to us from outside. It is forged quietly, often in the moments when no one is watching, when the struggles we face cannot be explained to others, and when the only thing left to rely on is the resilience within. People often confuse strength with force, believing that to be strong is to push harder, to resist more, to fight until exhaustion takes over. Yet true inner strength does not come from resisting endlessly, but from the ability to bend without breaking, to face the storm without being swept away, and to remain centered even as chaos swirls around. Every human being carries within themselves a reserve of energy, a reservoir of clarity and endurance that can only be discovered through trials. External challenges act as mirrors, showing us how much we have cultivated inside. If anger rules us, we see our weakness. If fear controls us, we recognize the cracks in our foundation. But when patience arises naturally, when calmness becomes our response to provocation, then we witness glimpses of the strength that cannot be shaken by circumstances. Inner strength is tested not when things are easy, but when the ground beneath us begins to shake. Discipline plays an important role in nurturing this strength. The body that is trained learns endurance, but the mind that is trained learns unshakable presence. To wake up each day and move with intention, to keep focus when distractions tempt, to silence the voice of doubt that whispers in moments of uncertainty. These are the practices that carve out strength from within. A person who has disciplined themselves is not easily carried away by impulses, nor are they shattered by disappointment, for their strength does not depend on outcomes, but on the firmness of their inner foundation. There is also a quiet aspect to inner strength. It is not loud, not boastful, not displayed for recognition. It is often invisible to others, but it can be felt in the stillness of one's presence. To walk into a room without needing to prove oneself, to stand in front of challenges without needing reassurance, to live without constantly justifying choices to the world. This is the quiet dignity of inner strength. Such strength radiates naturally, not because it seeks attention, but because it cannot be hidden. Life will always present situations where control is lost, relationships break apart, careers shift unexpectedly, health fluctuates, and the future becomes uncertain. Outer strength may collapse under such weight, but inner strength adapts. It learns to accept impermanence, to let go of rigid expectations, and to remain open to new possibilities. This adaptability is not weakness, it is the essence of survival. A tree that does not bend in the wind eventually snaps, but the one that yields gracefully grows stronger with each storm. Inner strength is also deeply connected to awareness. When we learn to observe our thoughts and emotions without being consumed by them, we gain power. Fear may arise, but we are not fear. Anger may burn, but we are not anger. Sadness may visit, but we are not sadness. Awareness creates space, and in this space lies strength. The strength to choose a response, the strength to remain rooted when the mind wants to run away, the strength to stay patient when every part of us longs to react. The cultivation of inner strength requires trust in the process of life. It is easy to lose hope when progress is slow, when results do not appear, when the path seems endless. Yet strength is built in the unseen, in the repetition of practice, in the patience of silence, in the endurance of waiting. Just as a seed takes time to push through the soil and reach the light, so too does inner strength need time to reveal itself. To demand instant results is to miss the lesson. To trust the unseen growth is to embody strength. Inner strength does not mean isolation, nor does it mean carrying every burden alone. It means recognizing that while others may walk beside us, while support may come and go, the core responsibility for how we endure belongs to us. No one else can breathe for us. No one else can silence our mind for us. No one else can choose our response in the face of difficulty. Strength grows when we stop outsourcing responsibility for our inner state and begin to cultivate the resilience that is independent of external conditions. The paradox of inner strength is that it often feels soft rather than hard. It is the softness of forgiveness, the gentleness of compassion, the humility of patience, the grace of acceptance. Many mistake these qualities as signs of weakness, yet only the strong can forgive when hurt, only the strong can remain gentle when challenged, only the strong can stay humble when praised, only the strong can accept when expectations are broken. Softness is not the opposite of strength, it is its highest form, for it reflects mastery over the impulses that drag most people into conflict. When we speak of inner strength, we are speaking of a way of being that transcends external circumstances. It is a strength that cannot be taken away because it is not dependent on possessions, titles, or recognition. It is cultivated in silence, expressed in presence, and proven in the moments when life demands everything from us. It is a strength that lives quietly inside, waiting to be discovered each time we are faced with the weight of existence, each time we are asked to endure what seems unbearable, each time we are given the chance to rise above what once defeated us. Self-discovery is not a path that is walked in haste. It is not a road where answers are handed out like maps, nor is it a journey where every turn is illuminated clearly. Self-discovery is subtle, and it unfolds quietly in the background of daily life. Many people assume that discovering themselves means learning what they like or dislike, identifying their strengths, or building their confidence. But the depth of self-discovery reaches far beyond preferences or abilities. It is about peeling away the layers of conditioning, silence, and illusions that have been woven into the fabric of who we think we are. To discover oneself, one must begin by questioning the foundation of identity. From childhood, people inherit names, cultures, and beliefs. They are told what is good and what is bad, what is possible and what is impossible. They are taught how to behave and how to fit into the frameworks that society deems acceptable. Slowly, without realizing it, the original essence becomes buried under layers of borrowed knowledge, expectations, and judgments. Self-discovery is not about adding more to this pile, but about removing what does not belong. It is an excavation, a gentle uncovering of the truth that was always there but hidden. There is a difference between who you truly are and the roles you play. You may be a parent, a friend, a professional, or a student. You may wear these labels like garments that shift with time. Yet the essence of who you are exists beyond these roles. Self-discovery is the process of seeing this essence clearly. It is about asking, who am I when all roles are stripped away? Who am I when no one is watching? Who am I when silence surrounds me? The answers to these questions cannot be rushed, and they cannot be borrowed. They must arise from within. The path of self-discovery demands courage because it requires honesty. To see yourself clearly, you must be willing to face the uncomfortable truths. You must be willing to acknowledge your fears, your insecurities, and your attachments. Often, people resist self-discovery because they are afraid of what they might find. They distract themselves with constant noise, endless tasks, and external validation. Yet no matter how far you run, you cannot escape yourself. Eventually, the need to turn inward becomes undeniable. In this turning inward, silence becomes the greatest teacher. Silence allows the mind to settle. When the noise fades, clarity begins to emerge. Thoughts that once seemed urgent lose their grip, and emotions that once felt overwhelming begin to pass like clouds across the sky. In silence, you learn to observe yourself without judgment. You learn to recognize the patterns of your thoughts, the habits of your behavior, and the roots of your desires. This observation is not passive. It is the first step toward transformation. Self-discovery also requires patience. Just as a seed does not reveal its fruit overnight, the self does not reveal its depth in a single moment. It unfolds gradually, layer by layer. Every experience in life, whether joyful or painful, becomes part of the process. The failures teach resilience, the successes teach gratitude, and the struggles teach strength. To dismiss any part of your journey is to dismiss a part of your discovery. Each step is necessary, and each step holds meaning. In this process, energy plays a vital role. Where you place your energy reveals much about who you are. If your energy is constantly consumed by worries of the past or fears of the future, you will feel fragmented. But if your energy is centered in the present, you will begin to feel whole. Self-discovery is not about searching outside for completion, but about recognizing the completeness that already exists within. It is about gathering the scattered pieces of your attention and bringing them back to the center. Another dimension of self-discovery is the realization of impermanence. Everything in life is temporary. thoughts, emotions, circumstances, even identities. When you recognize this, you begin to loosen the grip on things that do not last. This loosening does not mean indifference, but freedom. Freedom from clinging, freedom from fear, and freedom from the illusion that external conditions define you. In this freedom, you find a deeper connection to what is unchanging, the essence of your being that is not bound by time. Self-discovery is also about alignment. When your thoughts, words, and actions are in harmony, you feel a natural sense of ease. Misalignment creates conflict both within and outside, but alignment allows you to move through life with clarity and confidence. You stop fighting with yourself and you begin to flow with life instead of resisting it. This flow does not mean passivity. It means living with awareness, making choices consciously, and embracing responsibility for your own path. As the process deepens, self-discovery reveals a profound truth. You are not separate from the world around you. The same energy that animates you animates all of existence. The boundaries between self and other begin to soften. You realize that your thoughts, your actions, and your presence have an impact on the whole. This realization nurtures compassion, humility, and respect. It teaches that to discover oneself is also to discover the interconnectedness of all life. Self-discovery is not a destination, but an ongoing unfolding. There is no final point where one can say, "Now I fully know myself." Instead, it is a continuous journey shaped by every moment of awareness, every act of courage, and every encounter with truth. It requires humility because the more you discover, the more you realize how vast the unknown remains. Yet this humility does not weaken you, it strengthens you. It keeps you open, receptive, and willing to learn. Self-discovery is the art of living consciously. It is the choice to no longer live on autopilot, no longer to be carried away blindly by habits, conditioning, or fear. It is the willingness to stop, to look within, and to meet yourself as you truly are. It is the recognition that the answers you seek outside have always been waiting inside, and the journey is simply about removing the layers until the truth shines clearly. And spiritual growth is not something that arrives as a sudden gift, nor is it a single event that marks completion. It is a continuous unfolding, a process of peeling away the layers that hide what is already present within. At its core, spiritual growth is about awareness, awareness of the self, awareness of the mind, awareness of the body, and awareness of the greater forces that surround and move through us. It is not about gaining something external, but about uncovering what is already within, polishing it, nurturing it, and letting it guide our path forward. To speak of growth means to recognize change, but not just any change. Growth is change with direction, change with purpose, change that brings us closer to the essence of who we truly are. Many people think of growth as accumulation, more knowledge, more possessions, more power. But spiritual growth moves in a different direction. It is a growth that often feels like subtraction, the letting go of illusions, the removal of masks, the dissolving of attachments. Each time something false falls away, the truth shines more clearly, and in that clarity, there is freedom. The journey of spiritual growth often begins with discomfort. It arises in moments when the old ways no longer fit, when the familiar patterns of thinking and living bring only restlessness. The spirit begins to whisper that there is something more, something deeper, and if one listens to that whisper, the path begins to unfold. Yet the path is not straight and it is not smooth. It is winding with peaks and valleys, with silence and storm. To grow spiritually is to accept that each step, even the difficult ones, is part of the unfolding. Discipline plays a role in this journey, for the mind is restless and easily distracted. Without discipline, the attention scatters outward, chasing fleeting pleasures, temporary comforts, and shallow recognition. But through practices of stillness, mindfulness, and meditation, the mind learns to rest in itself, to observe without clinging, to experience without grasping. In that stillness, the layers of illusion start to peel away and the deeper essence begins to emerge. Spiritual growth is not about becoming someone different. It is about becoming who you already are beneath the noise. The seed of wisdom, compassion, and clarity already lies within. Just as a tree is contained within a seed, so too the fullness of your spirit is contained within you. What is required is the right environment for that seed to grow: nourishment, patience, and light. The nourishment comes from awareness, the patience from practice, and the light from truth. As the spirit grows, the perception of life itself begins to shift. What once seemed ordinary becomes extraordinary. A simple breath is no longer unnoticed. It is a miracle of life. A quiet moment no longer feels empty. It is a vast field of presence. Even suffering, which once felt unbearable, becomes a teacher that shapes resilience, humility, and compassion. Growth allows you to see life not as something happening to you, but as something happening through you. There is also a paradox in spiritual growth. The more you grow, the less there is of you as you once understood yourself. The small self, defined by ego, status, and identity, begins to dissolve. What replaces it is not emptiness, but expansiveness, a sense of connection to all things. Boundaries blur, and one realizes that separation is an illusion. The air you breathe is not yours alone. The light you see is not just for your eyes. The energy that flows within you is the same energy that moves the stars. This realization does not diminish you, it frees you. Another dimension of spiritual growth lies in action. Growth is not only about inner awareness, but also about how that awareness shapes the way you move in the world. True growth manifests as compassion, kindness, patience, and strength. It is not enough to know, one must embody. The depth of spiritual growth is seen not in words, but in the quality of presence, in the ability to bring peace into chaos, in the power to forgive, and in the courage to live truthfully. At times, growth will feel invisible. You may think nothing is changing, that your practices are empty, that your silence is meaningless. But just as a tree grows silently, slowly, and invisibly beneath the soil before it breaks the surface, so too does spiritual growth take place in ways not immediately seen. Trust in the process even when the evidence is not clear. The seed is always becoming, even when the surface looks still. Challenges will always accompany growth, for growth requires breaking old patterns. The mind will resist, the ego will fight, the old habits will pull you back. But every time you return to awareness, every time you choose patience over reaction, presence over distraction, compassion over judgment, you water the seed of your spirit. Slowly, the roots deepen and the tree of your being rises stronger, taller, and more radiant. The path of spiritual growth is endless. There is no final destination, no point where one can say, "Now I am complete." Each step reveals more depth, more mystery, more unfolding. Just as the universe itself is vast and unending, so too is the spirit's potential for growth. To walk this path is not to reach an end, but to live in a constant state of becoming, of evolving, of awakening to deeper truths. Protection and preservation are two forces that move quietly but powerfully within life. To protect is not simply to shield, to build a wall, or to resist. Protection is an act of awareness and understanding that not everything deserves access to the inner space of your mind and spirit. Preservation is the continuation of this process, the careful tending of what is valuable, ensuring that it endures through time, through challenges, and through the storms of existence. The first question one must ask is, what truly requires protection? Many people instinctively guard their possessions, their reputation, their status. Yet all these things are fleeting, vulnerable to time and circumstance. What is truly in need of protection is your energy, your clarity, your peace of mind. When those are disturbed, even the strongest body or wealthiest life can crumble. When those are preserved, even in scarcity or hardship, there is strength that cannot be shaken. Protection is not built on fear, but on discernment. Fear closes doors and blinds the eyes, but discernment opens awareness and allows choices to be made with precision. To protect the mind means to know which thoughts are worth entertaining and which must be released the moment they arise. To protect the heart means to sense which emotions are worth nourishing and which only drain vitality. And to protect the body means to respect its limits, care for its needs, and not abuse it with excess or neglect. Preservation, however, goes beyond the act of protecting. It is the long vision. It is the cultivation of something that must last. A tree is not preserved only by shielding it from harm. It is preserved by watering it, nurturing it, giving it soil to grow. In the same way, your mind is preserved not only by keeping out distraction, but by feeding it wisdom. Your body is preserved not only by avoiding harm, but by strengthening it with discipline and practice. Your spirit is preserved not only by rejecting negativity, but by cultivating silence, stillness, and moments of connection with something greater than yourself. Life constantly presents forces that want to intrude. Noise, opinions, demands, temptations, distractions. They all ask for your attention, and attention is energy. If you give it away carelessly, you soon find yourself exhausted and unable to continue your journey. Protection is the art of saying no. Preservation is the art of saying yes to the right things. When you combine them, you create a balance that sustains life. Consider the ancient warriors who trained not only to fight but to endure. They protected themselves against danger, but they also preserved their spirit with rituals, discipline, and principles that outlasted battles. Without protection, they would have fallen quickly. Without preservation, they would have lost their sense of purpose, even if they survived. The lesson is clear: both must exist together. Protection without preservation becomes rigidity. A person builds walls so high that no harm comes in, but neither does light, neither does growth. Preservation without protection becomes fragility. A person nurtures what is valuable, but allows it to be drained by everything around them. Only when the two are united does one find harmony. Protecting and preserving also apply to relationships and connections. When you surround yourself with people, some will uplift, others will diminish. To protect yourself is to set boundaries to prevent toxic influences from entering the core of your being. To preserve is to nurture the relationships that bring out the best in you, that help you grow, that mirror back your strength when you forget it. Many lives are filled with noise because boundaries were never drawn. Many hearts remain empty because preservation of meaningful bonds was neglected. There is also the protection and preservation of time. Time is the most fleeting and yet most precious resource. To protect time is to avoid wasting it on trivialities, distractions, and pursuits that hold no real meaning. To preserve time is to use it in ways that echo beyond the present, learning, creating, deepening wisdom, contributing something lasting. A life unprotected loses time to countless diversions. A life unpreserved looks back with regret because time was not invested in what truly mattered. Protection is active. It requires decision, clarity, and sometimes courage to say no, to walk away, to resist. Preservation is patient. It requires steadiness, commitment, and the willingness to maintain what does not immediately reward you but promises endurance. Together, they create a rhythm guarding in the present moment, nurturing for the future. In the practice of martial arts, one learns that protection is not only defense but awareness. A true martial artist does not wait until the strike is near but sees the movement before it begins. In the same way, protecting the mind and heart requires sensitivity to the subtle beginnings of harm, the thought that spirals into negativity, the emotion that grows into resentment, the small neglect of discipline that leads to weakness. Preservation is the form of daily practice, returning again and again to the fundamentals, even when they seem simple. Breath, movement, silence, attention. Preserved over years, they create strength that cannot be broken. The earth itself teaches protection and preservation. Mountains protect valleys from harsh winds. Forests preserve soil, water, and life. Rivers protect ecosystems by keeping them flowing, while at the same time they preserve generations of life by nourishing them. Nature does not separate the two, it embodies them as one continuous cycle. Humans often forget this unity, treating life as something to be conquered rather than preserved, treating self as something to be hardened rather than balanced. When you begin to see protection not as resistance but as awareness, and preservation not as attachment but as cultivation, the path becomes clearer. The energy you save by protecting yourself from what drains you becomes the fuel you use to preserve what nourishes you. The discipline you cultivate to preserve your strength becomes the shield that protects you from harm. There are moments in life when destiny is not something far away, but something standing at the threshold, waiting for an invitation. Yet most people are not prepared to open the door. They want change, they want fulfillment, they want purpose. But the readiness for destiny requires more than wishing. It requires preparation, clarity, and the ability to step forward without hesitation. Destiny is not only about what is written for you, but about what you are prepared to accept, to carry, and to live. To meet it, you must shape yourself into someone capable of walking the path without breaking under its weight. Readiness begins with awareness. Without awareness, even if destiny arrives, it will pass unnoticed. Imagine walking through a garden filled with rare flowers, but your eyes are fixed only on the ground. The fragrance is in the air, the colors surround you, but you see nothing. In the same way, destiny can unfold in front of you, yet if you are not awake to it, you will treat it as ordinary. The practice of awareness sharpens perception. It opens the inner eye to subtle opportunities, It allows you to feel the signals life is sending you. Readiness for destiny is not waiting passively. It is a state of alertness that knows when the right moment has come. Discipline is another form of readiness. Many believe destiny will favor them while they live without structure, without consistency, without effort. But destiny respects discipline. When you train your body, your mind, and your spirit, you create strength to hold what is given. Without discipline, even if a great opportunity is placed in your hands, it will slip through your fingers. Discipline forms a vessel capable of carrying destiny without spilling it. It is the quiet preparation that builds endurance, so when the moment comes, you can walk steadily instead of collapsing. Readiness also requires letting go of resistance. Many people block their own path because they cling to the old. They want destiny to arrive, but they refuse to release their attachments. They carry burdens of the past, they nurture fears of the unknown, and they insist on holding control. But destiny cannot enter a closed fist. It enters when the hands are open. To be ready means to trust the flow of life, to stop clutching what is fading, and to allow the unknown to unfold. What is prepared for you cannot arrive if you are too busy holding on to what was never meant to stay. Patience is a hidden form of readiness. The mind grows restless when the vision of destiny appears, but the time is not yet ripe. Many force things too soon, and in their haste, they destroy the very seed they were meant to nurture. Patience is the strength to wait with faith, to know that the soil is working even when you see nothing above the ground. Readiness is not rushing. It is holding steady until the right season comes. Just as fruit cannot be eaten before it ripens, destiny cannot be grasped before it matures. To be patient is to be wise enough to trust the natural timing of life. Courage is essential for readiness. Destiny often demands a step into the unknown, a leap into uncertainty. It rarely comes wrapped in comfort. Instead, it challenges, it disrupts, it calls you to leave the familiar and enter the unfamiliar. Without courage, destiny will feel like a threat instead of a gift. Readiness is not about removing fear completely. It is about standing in fear and still moving forward. It is about allowing the heart to lead even when the path is unclear. Courage makes you worthy of what destiny offers because it shows you are willing to grow into more than what you currently are. Readiness also has to do with alignment. If your actions contradict your words, if your energy is scattered, if your heart is divided, destiny will not settle in you. It seeks coherence. Just as a river flows where the path is clear, destiny flows into leaves where thoughts, words, and actions are united. Alignment is not perfection, but it is sincerity. It means living in such a way that your outer life reflects your inner truth. When there is no contradiction, destiny recognizes you as a vessel strong enough to carry its message. Another layer of readiness is humility. Many dream of great destinies, but they want them only for recognition, for pride, for self-centered gain. Yet destiny is never only about you. It is about service, about the greater whole, about the ripple effect your life creates in others. Without humility, destiny becomes poisoned. Readiness requires the softening of the ego, the willingness to carry greatness not for applause, but for purpose. Humility protects you from being blinded by your own light. It keeps you steady when destiny elevates you. Readiness for destiny is not built in a single day. It is forged in small choices, in daily discipline, in the ability to wait, in the courage to release, in the strength to align. It is the work done when no one is watching, the battles fought within the mind, the patience held in silence. Destiny may seem sudden when it arrives, but in truth, it always arrives to those who have been preparing silently for years. True readiness is not about chasing what you want, but about becoming who you must be. It is the transformation of character, the cultivation of strength, the purification of intention. Destiny is not a prize waiting at the end of the road. It is a mirror reflecting who you have become along the way. The question is not whether destiny will come. It is whether you will be ready when it does.